Hello, internet. Welcome to my motherfucking corner, son. Today we're talking some Dexter and shit. Ha ha ha. Today, I'm probably gonna lose a lot of subscribers because I have quite the controversial take apparently. But fuck it. I have free will, and I empower you to use your own, to consider liking the video if you did, to consider subscribing or unsubscribing if you think I have the worst takes imaginable. Definitely comment though, because remember, you are the main character, and I'm just some dumb little ghost boy that you need to prove wrong. So give me all the internet smoke, light up my fucking comments, you know what it is. Before you click off though, I just want to preface this with saying, I do love Season 4 of Dexter. In fact, I think it's the second best season they ever made. And the things that hold it back from being the best are, well, you're just gonna have to keep watching to find out.
Got him.
I'm gonna pull a lot of comparisons to Season 1, mostly because, in my opinion, that's the benchmark for peak Dexter. So without further ado, let's get to the video. But the biggest strength of Season 4 was definitely Dexter's story. The plot was phenomenal. We have villains of the week leading up to Trinity that aren't just randoms. They actually preface and strengthen the main themes of the story that Trinity really highlights and brings home before he's even introduced. Well, he's introduced in like the first scene, but you know what I mean. Before he actively becomes a part of Dexter's story. They're like the precursor to the storm. There's a ton of foreshadowing along the way, especially that woman cop who killed her family. And I think she's actually my favorite one of Dexter's one-off kills that he pulls off, especially because she introduces this idea of Dexter having to choose between his lives. And up until this point, he's never really had to do that. I mean, he has with Brian, but everything comes back to Brian, so we're just gonna ignore that for a second. And up until this point, he's never had to do that, which is the irony of it, because the more he listens to Trinity, the worse off he gets. He was an incredible foil for Dexter, and at the same time, that was kind of one of the biggest issues as well, because while the main plot was absolutely incredible, it's very clear that that's where all of the attention went, because the side plots and the side characters, they really suffered greatly this season, as opposed to Season 1 where every aspect of it was super tight and put together. I got a lot to say on the subplots, so don't go anywhere. Get your fingers ready. Get ready to start typing, motherfuckers, alright? I'm down to battle any of you in the comments, alright? So let me just get this out of the way. Batista and LaGuardia's B-plot was absolutely horrible this season. I basically have to skip it every time I rewatch it now, and oh boy, do I rewatch this shit a lot. They give Batista bullshit every season. He drops off a hot load of passion, and then he gets dumped off screen. It's bullshit, and they do him dirty constantly with these love interests that go nowhere, and he hasn't had a legitimate plot, I think, like ever, to be honest. He was very engaging in Season 1 because he really showed Dexter that even good people have secrets, and he really cemented himself as the audience insert, as the everyman character. He's flawed, and he tries to always do the right thing regardless of that. Him hiding his divorce was great, because this was one of the first instances that really fed into Dexter's delusions in comparing himself to good people. LaGuardia was so painful this season. She went from a career-driven character that really added interesting politics into the show, and she just kind of devolved very quickly into this just lovesick fucking like West Side Story plot, but worse. Like after Dokes dies, you would think she would shut off all romantic possibilities and really dive further into her career or dedicate her life to clearing Dokes' name. Like, it just came out of nowhere. She was the most career-driven character in the show, and it just, like, it was whack. Her and Batista's arc was whack in Season 4, and they spent so much time on it. They wasted so much time on this plot that was just so underwhelming. Like, compared to Season 1, LaGuardia had compelling conflicts surrounding her ego at her station. She struggled with making the right calls with the Tony Tucci thing, and was always in this battle with Matthews about control. And her character really seemed like it was going somewhere. She had goals and came up with interesting solutions to achieve them, and get the upper hand on people, and really didn't care who she stepped on. And part of her story was learning regret and compassion for the innocent people she uses as pieces to a game. And that really was non-existent come Season 4. Like, there was almost no politics, and her story just devolved into this really forced love interest thing.
No, it's middle school bullshit, Lieutenant.
In a lot of ways, it really was the beginning of noticing that they really didn't know what to do with the side characters at this point if they weren't actively investigating Dexter. Batista became a meme, Masuka was underutilized constantly and was purely comedic relief when he was literally the lead forensic investigator on the Bay Harbor Butcher case. So he's not an idiot, but they really treat him like one. Like, every break in the case was because of him, so the Masuka slander has to stop, and it's crazy because it mainly comes from the writers. And the issue there is, and I think they know this, it's that he's too smart for his own good. Some of the stories were pretty good though. Quinn had the best story, I think. He usually does. And it was so good this season because it really was reminiscent of Deb's romance with Rudy. And moving forward, when Deb and Quinn get together, it makes sense because they share the same type of trauma of being in love with a killer. It's always good to see Lundy, even though they did him dirty, but I do still have an issue with the Deb and Lundy thing in season 4, and it's more so that it really didn't go anywhere. Lundy set up Trinity to be his white whale, basically. Deb is very obviously Lundy's successor. So for Deb not to be the one to catch Trinity really made it feel like he only died because he was the obvious solution to catching Dexter if he stuck around long enough. And Showtime was totally not ready for any possibility of Dexter getting caught at this point in the series. Like, okay, so the Lundy stuff, it's not like 100% true, admittedly. I'm kind of reaching a little bit, but it is what it felt like following his death. His death did follow and strengthen the themes very well, but it just kind of didn't really do anything to move the plot forward, except give Dexter another reason to want to go after Trinity. Basically, everything about Trinity was a misnomer. Initially, Lundy thought he was a lone wolf, but he's a family man, it turns out. So, for two people who dedicated their lives to the hunt, for that to be the difference between them, and this lack of personal relations and the willingness to start a family is what got Lundy killed, was a really great ending for him. Christine doesn't really face justice. Yes, Deb figured it out and she avenged Lundy, quote unquote, but the resolution of this one really felt a little hollow, to be honest, because while those themes I just expressed make complete sense and are fantastic, there's also a part of me that just feels like they were only there to give Deb something to do and to let Dexter steal the spotlight like he usually does. She never catches Trinity, the whole department thinks he just got away, and for someone who killed her lover and mentor and her sister-in-law, you would think Deb would have more of a vendetta against Trinity. You would think she would, like, not stop to catch this guy. And, you know, it was really shaping in to look like Deb was getting, like, her origin story. To start walking the path of being just like Lundy, this Rolling Stone rock star investigator, and we don't really see that. And it just kind of became this cheap score to settle that didn't really actually get resolved. Which sucks, because Lundy was probably the character with the most presence in the entire series. You know, he was this looming sense of justice that really felt like when he set his sights on someone, it was imminent that he was going to get them. So thematically it makes sense, but it still feels bad. And as a viewer, that's really your greatest frame of reference, you know? It still feels like there were missed opportunities there, and that leaks into Deb's plots and gives her even more missed opportunities moving forward. In Season 1, Deb's arc was about her really coming into her own as a detective in homicide, and Rudy was for her in more ways than one, the one who got away. Now, fast forward to Season 4, she's honed her skills, learned from the best, and was entrusted with the will of her mentor to catch his nemesis. And she doesn't, and Trinity just becomes another Rudy, just another one that got away. Anton was hard to take seriously just because it was almost too obvious that he wasn't gonna last in the relationship. I'm just surprised that they didn't give him the Batista special, and that's kind of sad because he's a good actor and I liked him. I would have liked to see more of him, but if it's between him and Lundy, I mean, I'm picking Lundy, bro. In all honesty though, they probably should have kept him around even after Lundy dies, because that would have been a crazy dynamic to explore if he took Deb back after that. And at that point, he already had connections to other cast members, so it's not like he's a total stranger at this point in the show, like they introduced the new character of the season every season. That's another one of my issues for another video, how instead of doubling down on the cast they currently have, they write a whole season around random brand new character. Going back to the shortcomings though, Dexter really is blinded by the hunt this season, and it really shows how malleable his mind is. Trinity is definitely no Brian, and there's a couple of not plot holes, but definitely some mistakes regarding his kills. Like the first bathtub murder we see, both her arms are in the tub, and there's no hint of ashes. on the wall or her even pointing to anything. Obviously, that was thought up a couple episodes later when they incorporated it. Because really, Trinity is killing for like 40 years, and this first one that we see on screen investigated didn't have his MO involved. So sorry, but that doesn't really make sense. You're telling me that this guy was killing for 40 years and this is the first murder where he didn't spread ashes on it? I mean, come on. And so in the same vein of believability issues, there are a couple more I want to touch on just regarding Trinity and Dexter's relationship. First of all, Arthur Mitchell is without a doubt, undeniably, a very, very pathetic character, which is a good thing. I think when I say pathetic, people automatically kind of get offended by that, but the thing is, he was purposely written that way. He's very literally a man-child, stunted from a young age, and the entire season is written around discovering that about him. And my issue with this is that Dexter learns this very early on. He learns that Trinity is not the man he thinks he was. He learns that he was wrong to be enamored with him, and that he let Lundy glaze him a little too much, and it kind of changed his perspective on how he's seeing things. Maybe we can blame the concussion, I don't know. And also, Trinity was so sloppy, leaving DNA at every single crime scene, and the only reason he wasn't caught is because his pattern was so bizarre that no one knew it was a pattern. So I'm sorry to say it, but Trinity was not this mastermind killer. He got lucky as trauma presented itself the way it did, so he can just kind of act it out incredibly randomly. And he got lucky that no one gave enough of a fuck about random killings for so long. And it's good writing because, like I said before, Dexter was already doing these things that made his cover life so successful, so much so that he started to buy into the family life and grew attached to Rita and the kids like never before with anyone else. He was very much the opposite of Trinity and more successful in a lot of ways. But the thing is, he just couldn't see that. If Trinity's family found out that he was killing people, they would have turned him in a heartbeat. And there's the argument there for Dexter's family. If they found out, they might not have turned him in because of who he is, because he's a good father and a good man, or at least tries to emulate being one. The point is, he was already doing everything right. He really only needed some better time management. And once he met Trinity, I think he let the fact that he was around for so long kind of cloud his judgment and put into question what really is the definition of successful, because Dexter was successful in a lot of ways with blending in and doing what he does, and he really just let Trinity's tenure cloud his judgment. He was just like a fucking super fan, and it was weird. It was really weird that he was so encapsulated with him. So while this moved the plot forward in hindsight, it really feels like Dexter purposefully ignored these red flags just for the sake of the story to continue, which admittedly is something Dexter is famous for. This guy loves to ignore red flags. So yes, while the writing was great, phenomenal even, I totally understand it, and I am a huge advocate for letting that be known. At the same time, it definitely did not come without its share of believability issues. And I'm like Dexter's biggest fan. I legitimately don't think like there's anyone that likes Dexter more than me. I've watched this shit like 100 times beginning to end, so if I can analyze and admit the shortcomings of it, at the very least, I think it's a fair assessment, bias aside. And like, I'm not trying to shit on it, I'm really not. I just think that there were a lot of things that were very obvious standouts that weren't great decisions, and I think the twist at the end with Rita and Trinity, while it was a great subversion, I think people take that scene and just kind of forget about everything else in the season. Like whenever I talk about season 4 with people, that's the thing they always bring up. No one remembers how shitty the side plots were. No one remembers how unbelievable some of the decisions Dexter made were when he definitely knew better. Like, despite everyone in his life telling him how good a father and how good a person he is, he still for some reason needs to seek out this validation from someone who in all honesty is beneath him in both aspects of his life. Trinity is a worse father, a worse killer, so for Dexter not to be able to really see that for someone who's so observant is just a little ridiculous in my opinion. Especially when he's learned this lesson about letting his lives blend for at least 3 seasons and 1 prequel leading up to this one. And so it kind of introduces this idea of Dexter actively devolving this season, which I gotta be honest, at the same time was one of the best parts of it. I know I'm talking a lot about the mistakes, but even so, I really can't stress enough how good the main plot really was. It was like, it really was this Vince Gilligan level writing on taking Dexter in the peak of his life, introducing this self-fulfilling prophecy, and make him doubt everything about himself to lead him down this road of tragedy. It's a very Macbethian trope thematically, and it really was a refreshing take on Dexter, because up until this point, we go from Brian to female Brian, to Mexican Brian, to Dexter kind of being his own worst enemy. Him and Trinity are such strong foils for each other because they have the same problems, but different mentalities. And it was such a refreshing change of pace because every season we've been conditioned on how Dexter will evolve, how he'll kind of gain some humanity. And this season, he actively threw it away because, ironically, he was battling the most human condition of all. For the first time, we see him doubting himself. And while there were a lot of mistakes along the way, a lot were thematic and intentional, and in a lot of ways, I think the shortcomings of the narrative of Season 4 was its greatest strength. And honestly, when comparing Season 4 to Season 1 for the best season of Dexter, I kind of struggled with this script because I realized how close it actually was. And what it really came down to in making a decision was looking at each season as a whole, and while they were both fantastic and very compelling narratives, I think the deciding factor was the attention to detail that wasn't directly surrounding Dexter. I think the best way I can describe it is Season 1 created the world, and Season 4 just lived in it. I'm gonna call it there, Internet. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for tuning in to my rambling nonsense. Consider liking the video if you did. Consider resubscribing if you unsubscribed. And definitely comment, let me know what you think. I appreciate the shit out of you guys for checking this out. I have some new stuff coming out. I have some Welcome to Dairy reactions and some other types of videos coming out in the works right now. YouTube's currently giving me a hard time with some bullshit copyright stuff, which is crazy because I've watched reactions where people play the whole fucking episode and are completely silent, so whatever. I'm currently disputing some shit there, but we're gonna figure it out, and then I'm really excited to get those videos out for you guys. But stay tuned, there's more stuff coming, and have a wonderful day or night. Love you all, mean it, pay it forward, and do something you love today. Peace out, Internet. Until next time. Blah. 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 I don't know, man.